Welcome to today's episode of the Medical Device Marketing Podcast. So today I'm joined by Jenna and Oscar. Welcome, Jenna and Oscar.
Welcome.
Hello.
Wait, do you say welcome back to welcome? I don't know. Hi. Thanks for having me.
So on today's podcast, we're going to be talking about the 3 things that you can do now to optimize your Salesforce effectiveness. And this is really exciting because I think, COVID has changed an awful lot of things. I know we talk about COVID, but actually that's a long time ago now. But it's really enabled digital to come to the forefront. And actually, if the sales teams start to really capitalize on digital, it's almost like they have a whole nother capability available to them to be really, really effective. So everything we talk about now is going to be very focused on how you can use digital sales and marketing to really optimize Salesforce effectiveness. Okay, so the first thing, and actually we're talking about this all the time, and Jenna, I'm going to come to you on this one. The first thing is integrating video, which is amazing, integrating video into your sales process. Tell me a little bit more about that and how people can do it. Because I would say, apart from Oscar, what you're going to talk about, it's probably one of the biggest wins you can do immediately. In fact, yes, it's the biggest win you can do immediately.
Yeah, I mean, anyone who's listened to any of our previous podcasts will have heard us talk about video. I mean, it's taking over really, isn't it? Yeah. And I think in the sales process, it's not something that's considered that much. It's not really, at the moment, not really used that much, but it's actually something that can really easily be integrated. So, for example, just as you're responding to an email, why not include a little video talking through the email? I think that we do that sometimes with our messages, and we tend to find that we get not only a bigger or improved open rate, but actually that people are engaging with the video, and they might not read an email, but you can check that they've watched a video because using tools like Vidyard, you can actually see how far into the video people have got. Mm-hmm. You can see that they've watched it. And, people, if you give them a direction, like watch this video, they're more inclined to do it rather than just read an email that, might take them time. They just have a really simple video to watch.
Yeah. And it's really cool, actually, when you think of one-to-one video, because that is by far the biggest thing that we see that makes an instant. As you say, we use it in our emails at the moment, but I see, and you guys will all see the same thing with your videos. If I include a video in a email, my open rate is around about 1 second. I mean, no jokes. It's really, really quick because people just don't send videos. But the other thing, and I know we've all spoken about this before, it's like, if you just send text, how much information is communicated in text, Oscar?
It's 30 or 70%.
7%. 7%. And
that's what I said. What did you hear?
Sorry. Yeah, 7%.
7%. Yeah.
So 7%. So so you're only getting 7% of that information across. We're all really busy. We don't read everything. But if you add tonality into it, so if you have audio as well, then I think that increases it by 37%. So that goes up to 45%. So you're getting 45% of your information across. But if you add body language as well, which is of course video, you've then got 55% on top. So that's 100% of the communication value going across. So that's going to remove uncertainty. It's going to answer all the questions. Like we do it now with, when we send estimates out. Even when we send an email that's more than 2 paragraphs, we add a video with it. And I know we do it internally within the team as well. And it just it stops miscommunication. It just gives clarity. It can just be used everywhere. I'm really passionate about video in the sales process. I don't know if, Does anyone have anything else to add about video in the sales process?
I think that it's that human connection. I think we kind of spoke about that a little bit, but it's actually, for me, if I'm entering a sales process, I can be quite, apprehensive. Like, who am I going to be talking to? Are they going to be nice? Are they going to try and sell me something? Are they going to be really pushy? Like, who's actually on the other side of that call? And to have that video and you kind of get to see them, you see they're a real person, they're very nice, that you kind of,
and they're not a scary salesperson.
Exactly. Yeah. So it just gives you kind of that peace of mind and a little bit more reassurance when you're going into that process.
For sure. I think also with the rise of, generative text nowadays, I see the next couple of years just being inundated in text and text and text. And actually, I can see a trend towards people wanting that human connection. And I think video is the closest thing really you can get to true human connection. So I can see people, steering away from just walls and walls of text, which you should be doing anyway, and replacing that with a short 30-second video.
Because it's also effort, like you've taken the time to do it. I think interestingly, video actually takes less time than writing the text out once you get good at doing it. But yeah, you've actually taken the time to personally send somebody a video and make sure that they understand everything that you're trying to communicate. Yeah. So the only thing we haven't spoken about in video in the sales process, which will actually include in other things, so I won't touch on that yet. So the next thing to talk about is, and actually Jenna, I'll talk to you again about this because we do everything around they ask you answer. So we do everything from the content marketing perspective, which is very driven around the Salesforce effectiveness. So the next thing that we see that has a huge impact on sales teams is answering your audience's questions, but doing it up front. What do I mean when I'm saying that?
Yeah, so when you go onto a call with a lead, you probably are answering the same questions over and over again. But what if you could answer those questions up front? What if somebody came into your sales process and they already knew all those answers? They'd read all of that content. Like that is going
Or watched it.
Or watch that content. Yeah. That's going to massively expedite your sales process. And you'll have way more productive conversations. People hopefully will be coming into the conversations knowing exactly what they want, and you're not going to have to spend that time answering the same 80% of questions that you are always answering. And that's where we talk about video as well. We like to recommend something called an 80% video, in which you talk to a camera and you answer those questions that you are hearing all the time. And then, if somebody gets in contact with your team, if they haven't already seen that video, you can send them that video that they watched before that call, so they come in and you're just ready to get into the details that they can't find online.
It's amazing the impact of that as well, because as you say, then all those questions have already been addressed, and either the customer might, or the surgeon, the radiologist, anybody might know, actually, this is not the technology for me, or they might know this is definitely the technology for me. Either way, you're so much further along where you needed to be. And then the cool thing is, you just then wait for the next round of questions, and then you answer them online too. So in the end, we talk about, your website being your best salesperson, but in the end, it really truly is, because all the information is then online just by answering these questions over and over again. And of course, you can do this in video, you can do this in text, and yes, then slot it in to the sales process to really supercharge every point and shorten it.
Yeah.
Okay, so we've already talked about introducing video with the sales team. So that's like one-to-one video and email, things like that. So you really make that connection with somebody before you even meet them, and you alleviate any confusion during the sales process. Then really, truly understanding all the questions that your audience are asking you that are stopping them moving through the sales process. But I think there's one other thing that we haven't spoken about yet that does make a huge difference, because if you don't have this right up front, it's going to really cause a brick wall for you. Oscar, what's that one thing?
Well, I think I'm going to start sounding like a broken record here, but it's something I'm very passionate about, and it's messaging. It's something that I think is the key of any marketing activity you do. It's the first key to unlock all the other stages. And what I mean by that in specifically relating to Salesforce is making sure that, sometimes the first interaction a customer or a potential customer has with your company is through a direct sales email. So you have to have your first impressions on point. You need to make sure that you are on the same hymn sheet as all your sales reps, that you're all speaking the same language, you've all finalized and unified your exact messaging. You don't want to go straight in with the most complicated things. You want to stand out from the crowd by being, simple, have a direct, conversational call to action, really guide them. Don't confuse them in the first, especially don't send them an essay. Like I see a lot of sales messages come into my inbox, really confusing essay with, I don't know what bits you want me to pay attention to, what bits you want me to engage with, how you want me to follow up from this, what am I supposed to do? So your messaging, get that right before you get anything else done. Agree that across the board with your sales team, and just roll that out, especially now with automation tools, when you're sending out hundreds, maybe thousands of sales messages a day, potentially, you have to get that right. So if you haven't focused on messaging yet, get that right before you do anything else.
Yeah, because as you say, actually, that makes a huge impact, not just on the sales team and all your marketing efforts, it's the whole thing. Because if you get the messaging right, that unifies through everywhere, externally and internally. And it's a really unified message going out, which often we find isn't quite there. So that can make a huge impact, and then running out into all the other campaigns. Excellent. Okay, so those are the 3 things that you can do to really optimize Salesforce performance quickly in 2024. So if there's one takeaway from everything we've spoken about that would make a really big impact within any of those one things, Jenna, what would you think that would be?
I would say video. I would say just give it a try. Like next time you're sending out a sales video, why not sales email? Why not just attach a video in there? It doesn't have to be anything. It doesn't have to be big production. It can just be you talking to your webcam. Even that is going to bring in that personal connection. And I think it doesn't take too much time, but it does have a massive effect. So that's what I would say. Just give it a try.
Yep. Oscar?
Be clear, concise, and direct with your messaging, whether you message via video or text, however you do that, make sure it's clear, concise, and direct.
Yep. I agree with both of those. I totally agree. And I think just lean into the video though, because the video is something that people just aren't doing. And it makes such a big impact on every stage of your sales process. And the content, of course, the answering the questions. Excellent. Good. So thank you very much for attending or joining this week's podcast. Thank you very much for listening to the Medical Device Marketing Podcast this week. We hope you enjoyed what you listened to, and have a fantastic week. And we look forward to seeing you next week. This episode of the Medical Device Marketing Podcast was brought to you by Podymos. If this conversation sparked any new ideas for you, or you want to transform your medical device marketing approach, then our door is always open. Visit www.podymos.com and explore a treasure trove of information about medical device marketing on our Learning Centre. Or, better yet, get in contact with us and speak to one of our expert marketers, as they're as passionate about medical device innovation as you are.